So this is a video to go over the foundation chapter 4 biology test. So I expect you to have your script, your answers in front of you, and to be adding improvements on the page using both my answers and the mark scheme, which I'm going to flick back and forth to, so feel free to use pause if you need to. Question number 1, the word equation for photosynthesis, the missing gap is oxygen. It's the only correct response. Give yourself 1 mark if you got it right. If not, put down the correction. B, a ring around the correct response. The energy needed for photosynthesis comes from light. Respiration is another process. It's actually the opposite process to photosynthesis. And osmosis is the diffusion of water through a partially permeable membrane. So the correct response is light. Part 2, energy is absorbed by a green pigment called chlorophyll. Chloride is just there to put you off that response, so ignore that. Chloroplasts are actually the structures in cells that contain chlorophyll. So chloroplasts are important things in this chapter, but not the correct response this time. So the correct answer, give yourself a mark, is chlorophyll. Part 3 is actually a pretty bad question, but the answer is decrease. If the temperature is decreased, the rate of photosynthesis will decrease. The reason why it's a bad question is there's a little bit more to how temperature affects the rate of photosynthesis. Actually, if temperature is too low, then photosynthesis will happen much more slowly, at a slower rate. But if it's too high, also that will slow down the rate of photosynthesis. So really, the full story is that there is an optimum range where photosynthesis will happen at a much quicker rate than other temperatures. So, part C. Give 3 ways in which plants use the glucose made in photosynthesis. So, give yourself a tick if you said for respiration. They combine that glucose with oxygen to release energy. And linking to that, my point 3, this released energy is used to produce new cells for growth. And part 2, they actually store some of the glucose as starch, which will allow, and I didn't go on to say it, but which will allow the plant to survive in dark conditions. Because what happens is that in dark conditions there's no light for photosynthesis, so the plant can't actively make glucose, but under those conditions the plant breaks down the starch into some glucose, which it then can photosynthesize. Other answers which can get credit: to make fats, oils or lipids, to make proteins, to make big molecules from small molecules. So these are all other responses, and they're all things that the plants use the energy from glucose to do.